G'day, Professor Glenmo here again today, and what I want to talk about is energy monitoring. Now, why is energy monitoring important? Well, if you want to save money, you really want to know what's happening to your energy. You also want to know if stuff's working. There's a whole range of products that can do energy monitoring. So today, I'm going to explain a range of them to you. So I've got in front of me a bunch of different energy monitoring devices, from simple to more sophisticated, from easy to install to really licensed electrician level installation, and they all have different features. So first up, we've got something which is just a simple plug-in meter. Now, this is a very simple device. It'll measure one socket outlet. So you plug it into a socket outlet, it'll tell you power, it'll tell you in watts, it'll tell you amps, the current in amps, it'll tell you voltage. But, you know, basically plug it in, plug an appliance into it, leave it running for a while, and it'll let you know how much energy it's consumed over a period of time. So it's quite useful, just individual appliance monitoring. And these are cheap. I mean, these are, $30 to $40. Next in the line is something that can monitor in a more sophisticated way. Now that would be something like this. Now this is a product from a company called Solar Analytics. Now Solar Analytics have been around a long time in Australia. They're a great Australian company. They have basically turned analysing your energy into an art. Now, what this is basically a device that is installed by an electrician in your switchboard. It's got a little antenna here, so it's a little 4G antenna, and it communicates directly with the cloud, so you don't have to connect it to your Wi-Fi. It's got CTs, or current transformers, that measure the current. It can measure multiple CTs, so for instance, a generation CT on a solar and load coming into the installation. It can measure voltage as well, so it's got voltage sensing. So given those pieces of information, it can do quite an accurate load profile, but it can do way more than that. Now, here's an example. This is a few examples. One of them is it can actually tell you, if you've got solar, for instance, and you've had one of these installed for some period of time, it can tell you if it's working. Oh, well, that's pretty easy. Just walk up to your inverter, you can see if it's working. But actually, it can tell you if it's working properly. It can tell you if your production is what you should be getting from that system. And it does this with analytics, which is after a period of time, particularly after a year or so, it knows your energy generation patterns. In fact, it knows your consumption patterns as well. And if they start to change over time, say your generation in the morning drops away quite noticeably, and this was something that Cuzzy Bro Nigel Morris found out before he even worked for Solar Analytics, was that he had a tree growing on the east side of his house. And his little device like this basically suggested to him that there might be a shading problem in the morning. And what do you know? He looked out the window and the tree had grown. So this can actually heads up that there is a problem before you know it. It can also do something really helpful in terms of reducing your bill, and that's something called bill optimization. Now, what is bill optimization? If anyone's ever tried to look at the different retail plans offered, and there are so many of them depending on what state you're in, it's really mind-boggling. There's so many, if you do this, if you use energy now or then, or, do you pay up front, or etc. All of these plans give you benefits and sometimes catches. What the bill optimizer does is actually you look at how you use energy. Look at your whole profile over the period of 24 hours, and in fact over a long period of time, like seasonal, and it starts to make some assumptions about what is the best plan to be on. Now, here's a tip. Don't fall into the loyalty trap with your energy retailer. It's basically a loyalty tax. Generally, the sweet plans are at the beginning, and once you roll onto the standard plan, prices go up. So the bill optimizer will keep telling you, well, actually, you should churn to this retailer, because based on the way you use energy, this is the very best plan to be on. So there you go. It's a sophisticated product. It communicates directly with the cloud through 4G, but it does have to be installed by an electrician. Next up, we've got this device, yet another great Australian company. This is the Catch Solar Relay. Now, Catch Solar Relay is actually a fairly new product. Many people may be familiar with Catch Power. Catch Power developed a very, very popular hot water diverter. But I'm talking about this product. This is an energy meter. It's not too dissimilar from the one I just showed you. It's installed by an electrician in your switchboard. It measures your consumption, and it can measure generation with CTs. But on top of that, it can control a load. So it's got a contact that can be, drive an external large power contactor. So it can turn stuff on and off. But on top of that, it can actually do quite sophisticated algorithms, which means based on time of day, voltage, frequency, or direct communication with something like an inverter when to turn stuff on. This gives you a lot of opportunity to use this simple device to control loads in the smartest possible way. On top of that, these can also now talk to many of the major brands of inverters as the load meter for the installation. So not only is your inverter from brand X inverter telling you how much it produces, this is also telling you how much you consume and talking to the inverter. So it's got that whole sort of data landscape being captured. So this is the Catch Solar Relay. Now let's go up a step here in terms of complexity. Now this is a device from a company called Switched In. Now, really the device isn't so much what's important, it's the smarts behind this device. So this device here can work with many. In fact, here in the lab, I think I've got 13 of these, monitoring many brands of inverters, batteries, hot water services, weather stations, you name it. This thing can monitor and sometimes control many of those devices. In fact, in some states where they have flexible export programs, this is a sort of device that you might install to be able to enable flexible export. That means your inverter's output will change based on the amount of surplus energy that the grid has available or deficit the grid has available to absorb your export. So your inverter might some days work at full power in the middle of the day, and other days it might be ramped back because the network doesn't need it. But this device can, through a cloud platform called Storm Cloud, aggregate all of your different systems. Now here at the Smart Energy Lab, we've got something like 28 inverter systems connected to our network, and they're from all different brands. And like I said, we've got hot water services and we've got weather stations, and all of those things are being monitored by the switched in droplets. This is called a droplet. Once again, this is a device installed by an electrician and configured on site, but once that's been configured through the Storm Cloud app, it's a great way to monitor a whole bunch of stuff. So hats off, another great Australian company. Thirdly, or fourthly, we've got this new product. Now this is new to me. This is Deus. Now what we've got here is an installer, a self-installed energy monitoring system. Now it's a bit more sophisticated than just monitoring a socket outlet. In fact, when you get them, you normally will have at least two, if you've got solar, of these sensors. Now what these sensors do is, it's rather clever how it works, without any connection to any electrical wiring other than just wrapping it around the cable. So, and believe it or not, I found this hard to work out how these things work. You don't have to wrap it around just one conductor like the active. You can actually wrap it around a bundle of cables, such as your main feed coming into your installation for your inverter, for instance, and it will measure the energy flow. Now, I don't know how it works. It's another great Australian product. In fact, it's more about the algorithm that works out how to calculate your energy consumption that's so clever about this product. It's charged up. It's got an internal battery, so you charge this up with a USB port here on the back. There we go. And I assume that lasts for a long time, but you can always recharge it. You would go to your main switchboard, and whether you can attach this to a cable at your main switchboard, preferably the main incoming for, say, your service fuse, or if you can't access that, just literally sticking it onto the switchboard as close as practicable to your main switch. And they come with a little self-adhesive piece that goes on here. So this is the Deus monitor. Now this is monitoring your energy flow at the point of connection with your grid, but then with a second one, you can monitor generation. So the second one you would put wrapped around the AC cable supplying your solar inverter. Now these two things communicate via Wi-Fi with one of these. Now this is it looks like just a simple plug-in energy monitor, but actually it's communicating with the cloud. So this connects to your home Wi-Fi and talks to these devices, measures gets the measurements from them and transmits it to the cloud. It can also measure consumption of a single outlet or appliance plugged into it. So, you might have a few of these, and so you might be monitoring your fridge and your home entertainment system, your solar inverter, and your main switchboard. So Ha, pretty amazing. And all of this is self-installed. There's no electrician required. There's no dodginess. You're not actually opening up any switchboards or connecting any wires. You're just plugging stuff in, or in the case of the little monitor device here, wrapping it around a conductor or even a bit of conduit. I'm amazed how these work. So there's a range of options for energy monitoring. Remember, if you want to save money, you should be monitoring how you use energy, and some of those devices that I've just shown you will automate that process. Anyway, this is Professor Glenmo, out.